Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Elena Branzera. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I'm also part of the Baton Rouge Bar Association. And I want to thank everyone for coming out here because as I look around everyone, I can see that there's different reasons for certain people being here. But the best thing is that we're all gathered together because this is to honor and pay attention to and tributes for our veterans. So for the veterans that are in this audience, I want to tell you in advance, on behalf of the Baton Rouge Bar Association, thank you for your service and your continued sacrifice. Veterans, would you mind standing up so that we can recognize you? Thank you for your service. As part of the Baton Rouge Bar Association, it's really an honor to be standing here. I kind of was voluntold that I was going to help out with the Veterans Council with the Bar Association, and it's an amazing shoes to fill. And one of the greatest things that we had is an art contest. And so I'm going to wait to introduce everyone because I'd love for y'all to participate in the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'd like to introduce Constable Terica L. Williams, Constable for Baton Rouge, to lead us in the pledge. Will you please stand?
Our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. So before we begin the program, we have some poster winners. And I will tell you, we had an incredible amount of people that participated in this event, but there were 3 that stood out. And the theme, students were asked to create a piece that centered on leadership through service, strength, and sacrifice. 44 of these posters were submitted. And the members of the Veterans Day Committee were chosen to honor 3 of those here today. Our 3rd place winner is Mason Reichart. His piece, One Nation Under God, celebrates the sacrifices that veterans make for all of us. Judges highlighted his advanced artistry and strong message. Mason, I have a certificate for you. Would you please come here? Our 2nd place is Harris Culpepper. His piece, Price of Freedom, embraces veterans from all 50 states and depicts the symbol that unites all of us. The judges applauded his use of perspective and well-drawn figure. And so will you please come up here, Harris, to receive your award, and also a little something that mom and dad are going to like. Coming up. Our 1st place winner is Reese Landers. Her piece, Service Has a Purpose, seeks to recognize the veterans who are not always noticed. Judges appreciated how her poster depicted several different kinds of service members and how the use of the text tied the theme. I'd like to go ahead and announce our 1st place winner, Miss Reese Landers. That's yours. Now, as you exit, if you look at the exhibit, all of these beautiful artworks are hanging up on the left-hand side of the wall. So please take a moment to reflect on those and what these students did, because those are the next generation that we have that continue to support our veterans, and we continue to support them as well as their families and their love for their patriotism and their veterans. Ladies and gentlemen, also, I'd like to let you know that any attorneys that are present and that are seeking CLE credit, we have the forms outside, or just ask one of us and we'll be sure to get you a form. I'd like to go ahead and introduce our guest panelist who will actually be leading the panel. He's actually someone that is near and dear to my heart, Colonel Joey Strickland. Mr. Colonel Joey Strickland was first appointed in 1995 by Governor Edwin Edwards as Louisiana Director of Troops to Teachers, as well as the Governor's Office of Indian Affairs. Colonel Strickland was appointed Secretary of Veteran Affairs by Governor Mike Foster, and in that capacity, he oversaw the construction of 3 additional state veteran homes and the Louisiana's first state veterans cemetery in Keithville. Under Governor John Bell Edwards, he also oversaw the construction of the last state veteran cemetery in Jennings. Colonel Strickland served a total of 25 years as Secretary of Veteran Affairs for under 7 governors in 2 states, in Arizona and in Louisiana. He also served as National President of All State Directors of Veteran Affairs for the United States, and then in that capacity, he testified on veterans issues before Congress. This past December in 2023, when Colonel Strickland retired, he was the longest serving Secretary of Veteran Affairs in the nation. Colonel Strickland served 30 active years in the U.S. Army, including 2 tours in combat duty in Vietnam. He joined the Army in 1966 as an enlisted airborne infantryman. During his time in the Army, he was awarded the Legion of Merit, Meritorious Service Medal with 4 bronze oak leaf clusters, Army Commendation Medal, 2nd Award, Army Medal, 4th Award, Republic of Vietnam Campaign Medal, Vietnam Service Medal with 7 battle stars, Airborne Medal, Enlisted Aviation Wings, and Overseas Ribbons, among many others. Colonel Strickland has a bachelor's degree, political science and foreign language from Hampton University, a master's degree, a counselor education and psychology from Auburn University, 1981, and of course, as if there isn't anything more, a certificate diploma from the Air Force Command and General Staff College, which is equivalent to a master's degree in Airspace Studies, 1988. And also, I'd like to say that when I have worked underneath him, he is a tireless, devoted public servant, and he continues to serve. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Colonel Joey Strickland.
Thank you, Elena. My mom would be really proud of that great introduction. If you've never seen a Native American that's Choctaw, you're looking at one right now. So my people have been here 10,000 years, and we're going to stay here 10,000 more, maybe longer. But I'm really honored to have been asked to head up the panel. We've got some great panelists that are going to be taking your questions, that are going to be talking about veterans issues, and that they're obviously, we're not going to get to everything that you probably have in mind, but we are going to take some questions from the audience. We have, I'm going to read their bios. I'm going to go first with, let's see, Senator Foyle, because I've known him forever, Franklin Foyle. Let me read his bio. He's a great American. I've known Senator Foyle for years, worked with him in the legislature, always a friend of veterans and veteran families. He is the Louisiana 16th District Senator. Prior to that, and I first met him when he was a state representative for 12 years. He's the chairman of Revenue and Fiscal Affairs and is a member of Insurance and Local and Municipal Affairs Committee. He recently retired, I think it was last year, as a captain in the U.S. Navy Judge Advocate General's Corps after serving 30 years of active and reserve duty. He spent his last 8 years of service as a trial and appellate judge. Upon his retirement, he was awarded the Legion of Merit by the President of the United States. He received his JD from Loyola University School of Law after graduating from LSU with a bachelor's in political science. He is the founder of his own law firm, Foyle Law Firm in Baton Rouge, where he represents local businesses and families with estate planning needs. He's a member of the LSU Cadets of the Old War School. We belong to the same American Legion Post 58, and he's a member of the Baton Rouge Rotary Club. Franklin and his wife Tanja have been married for 32 years, and they have 3 beautiful children. Welcome our panelists, Senator Ford. Our next panelist is Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Johnson. Or I'm sorry, Sarah Anderson. I just met Sarah this afternoon, so. But anyway, let me tell you a little bit about Sarah. Sarah founded the Sarah Anderson Law Firm, assisting with over 150 cyber incident responses. Sarah advises leaders and technology professionals on preventing and mitigating liability before, during, and after a cyber incident. Sarah consistently monitors state and federal law on emerging issues such as artificial intelligence and social media. She's licensed to practice in 4 states, Louisiana and Texas, Pennsylvania, and Illinois. Prior to her establishing her own law firm, Sarah was in-house counsel with a technology nonprofit assisting with intellectual property and federal contracts. During her years as a big law, and it's parentheses, as a big law partner, Sarah focused on toxic tort and property litigation. Formerly, Sarah served as a chief legal counsel for the state of Louisiana, cyber incidents response, cyber law judge advocate for the Louisiana National Guard, and legal liaison for the Louisiana Cyber Security Commission. She's a veteran serving as a lieutenant colonel, still in the U.S. Army Reserve. She's got 4 more years to go. She was telling me all about it. She can't wait. And as she previously earned her airborne wings, and this is a warrior, combat action badge during her time in Iraq. Give her a warm welcome. I love women warriors. My daughter is a full-time Guard soldier, and she's tough. The next panelist that I want us to welcome is Johnny Joubert. Did I say that right, Johnny? Okay. Sergeant Johnny Joubert is a native of Jena, Louisiana. Jena, Louisiana is where the Choctaw Indian people live, so you're okay. He attended Jena High School. He graduated from LSU in 1993 in the Southern University Law Center, where he graduated cum laude in 1997. He is the owner of Joubert Law Firm in Baton Rouge, where he handles personal injury and first-party property and casualty cases. John enlisted in the military in 1987 and served in the U.S. Army, where he was stationed in Saudi Arabia in 1990 and 1991. He led missions throughout Saudi Arabia and into Kuwait and Iraq during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Sergeant Joubert was awarded numerous awards and honors while in the Army, including Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm medals, Army Service Ribbon, Army Achievement medals, Southwest Asia Campaign medals with 2 Bronze Stars, National Defense Service Medal, Kuwait Liberation Medal, and the Louisiana War Cross. John lives in Baton Rouge with his wife, Amy, and they also have 3 children. Welcome, John. The last panel member that I want to introduce is certainly no stranger to me. I've known Richard forever. He was the chairman of the Veterans Affairs Commission when I was the secretary. He was always there when I needed him. He's a personal friend. He eats at my wife's restaurant. Keep eating there, Richard. But I want to introduce Richard to you. Richard enlisted in the Navy on April the 3rd, 1967. He was honorably discharged in June of 1970. Not because he wanted to be discharged, but he was severely wounded in Vietnam. He was lucky to be sitting here with us. He was wounded on his 3rd trip in Vietnam. He was a member of river patrol boats. He requested to be on a river patrol boat, one of the most dangerous assignments in Vietnam. He went through escape or survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. It's called SERI training that prepares Navy personnel for service in where they might be captured by the enemy. His bio is very long, but I really want to read something special to you. After training, he was sent to Saigon, Vietnam, and he was assigned to River Patrol Boat Squadron 532. He was assigned as the boat captain for PBR 121. During this time, his river division was assigned to a place called Hai Tien. Richard went out on 210 combat patrols. He was involved in 13 firefights. He was wounded on February the 23rd, 1970, when his boat was hit with B-40 rockets. He received the following medals for his time in service: Vietnam Service Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, Vietnam Campaign Medals, the Presidential Meritorious Unit Commendation, the Navy Commendation Medal with Combat V for Valor. He, in addition to being a Purple Heart recipient, he served as the commander of Purple Heart Post 177. He's always been active and involved in veterans issues. He chaired my commission for appointed by Governor John Bel Edwards. He is a great, great American, personal friend of mine. Please give him a warm welcome. Okay, the way I'm going to go ahead and take a seat here, the way we're going to do this is sort of, we're going to have fun. We're not going to be all serious, but before we get started, I would like for members of the legal profession to stand up and be recognized. Let me see who do we have here from the legal profession? Welcome. We really, really want to welcome you because you're important to us. A few years ago, when I was Secretary of Veterans Affairs, I got the Baton Rouge Bar Association involved in veterans issues, and we always did things with them. They assisted veterans with insurance claims, with taxes, things like that, and that sort of has dropped off a little bit, and we want to revive that because soldiers need the advice of legal counsel, because when they come off of active duty, and Sarah and I were talking about that, they're lost. They're used to coming out of a structured environment. All of a sudden, they're told, thank you for your service. They're led out the front gate and they're on their own. And that is very, very tough. I had a little bit of that when I retired in December of 2023 after John Bell left office. I had been a soldier for 30 years. I had been a state secretary for 25 years. I got up every morning, put my suit and tie on, kissed my wife goodbye, and went to work. In December of 2023, I was retired. My wife and I own a restaurant. Correction, she owns a restaurant. I do errands every now and then. She didn't need me. She's a very good leader. She loves me, but she's a very good leader. So I had trouble finding what to do with myself. I had to reinvent myself. And it was about 6 months later when I received a phone call. I was telling Senator Full from a couple of friends of mine. They said, hey, Joey, we own this veterans rehabilitation clinic in New Iberia, 24-bed facility, state-of-the-art. We need somebody with your veterans experience to come on board as a senior partner, and we'll pay you. We'll negotiate your pay. They took care of me. A year later, I became part owner of the facility, and we work with Federal VA, New Orleans, and Alexandria. They send veterans to us. We're a community-based outpatient clinic. One of my partners is here, Lisa. Lisa, stand up. We take care of men and women. These are men and women who are struggling with addictions, alcohol, post-traumatic stress, domestic disturbances, you name it, the gamut. And when they come to us, they're in bad shape. When they leave us 30 days later, sometimes longer, they're a different human being, and we're honored to be able to do that. But we've come up, the panel, with a list of questions that we want to talk to you about. And then we want to accept questions from you as well. If you have a question, I want you to ask the panel member so that we will know what's on your mind. And we, at the end of the hour, what we would like for you to do is fill out a questionnaire, an evaluation sheet on what you think about the evening, so that if you like it, maybe we can continue to do this and establish an annual thing for veterans, for the legal association to continue to do this. And I would very hard name to remember for all you guys out there and gals, Bubba's. And it was voted number 3 in the state 2 years ago as a mom pop business for good eating. So as we say in Louisiana, y'all come. No, but anyway, I'm very proud of my wife. She's the daughter of a Vietnam combat veteran who fought with the 101st Airborne, passed away from Agent Orange. She was a good and wonderful military wife to me over the years, but more importantly, she's the mother of 4 combat soldiers, Iraq and Afghanistan. And her other daughter, our other daughter, who is Mrs. Louisiana, USA, by the way, this year. Her husband is a first sergeant, Louisiana National Guard, and had 2 deployments to Iraq. So we are a military family. We understand the struggle. We live it every day. So I'm just so honored to be here. So let's go ahead and get started. The first question that is on the minds of every young soldier, airman, sailor, Marine coming off active duty is, what are some of the biggest legal challenges veterans face when returning to civilian life? And that's the question that people like Larry Williams, who is in the back there and still works for LWA, used to get constantly. What am I going to do about my benefits? Who do I see about my benefits? What about a job? Am I going to go back home? If I go back home, is there going to be any work for me? Where am I going to live? And some of them are struggling with post-traumatic stress, mental health issues. When a young soldier comes off of active duty over the years as secretary, I found out that they're interested in, first thing they're interested in is coming off of active duty and getting back home. Second thing, a car. Next is a job. Next is housing. There are some that are interested in going back to college. That's why we established student veteran centers on every college and university campus in the state of Louisiana. We did that with the help of Senator Full and others, and it's working, it's great. But those are the things that these young people deal with. And so I'm going to ask Senator Full to make some comments about that.
Thank you, Colonel Strickland. It's a pleasure to be here with you and with the panel and all of you today. Just a few things I'd like to point out. When I got off active duty, I was on active duty for 4 years. I was a reservist for 26. So when I came back here, I would encounter veterans who had trouble getting their VA benefits. And the VA here is a great resource to go through your initial filings and to try to get, appropriate ratings and so forth. But sometimes they would stumble and they still couldn't get the relief at the local level. So there's actually an appellate court in Washington, D.C. It's a veterans court. And so I used to do pro bono work with people who would come to me to try to help them with that court to get the benefits. And then if you win, the court will pay the attorney's fees. But that's, for example, for lawyers here, if you want to try to help veterans, I mean, it takes a little bit of time because you have to study the manual and so forth. But it's easy to practice in front of that court because you don't have to go to Washington, D.C., but it allows you the opportunity to help these veterans. And sometimes they'll send judges down to New Orleans for hearings and things like that. So I throw that out as an opportunity. And then one other thing I just want to talk about is some legislation that I worked with Colonel Strickland. It's called the Veterans First Business Initiative. We passed that about 5 or 6 years ago. And what we realized is there is a problem when people, once again, they get out of the military, they have very few resources, they're not sure to look, where to look for a job. They may have some disability or some PTSD problems. And so it's tough. And veterans understand what other veterans go through. So the Louisiana Veterans First Business Initiative was passed into law. It's under the Louisiana Economic Development Department. And if you have a business and you're a veteran, you can register it with LED, and they will promote your business through their website. And then Veterans Affairs also verifies that the veteran runs the business. So the value to that program is, if you're a veteran, once again, it helps promote your business and lets people know, hey, I want to do business with a veteran. So you can get a list. But it also helps, we didn't really realize this when we were pushing the legislation, but what we found out through the testimony is it also helps people who are looking for jobs, because a veteran-owned, if you might have some problems, once again, the public really doesn't realize how much PTSD issues are out there. I was telling the colonel, when we're in war, everyone is focused on the death count, which is of course very important, but there are a lot of people who have severe injuries, both mental and physically. So this program helps veterans find other veteran-owned businesses to get jobs, and that's what they're really looking for. So anyway, that's what I have for now.
Thank you, Senator. And I remember those programs that you worked on with me and others, and they're still with us. Actually, my little restaurant is a veteran-owned business, and we have a certificate that we get right there on the door. We support Purple Heart. We give them free food every month for their business meetings, and we're honored to do that. The mayor of Walker proclaimed my little restaurant as the first and top veteran-owned business, small business in the city. So we're just big honors. Now, Sarah works with veterans who are transitioning every day, and that's part of what she does. So, Sarah, could you tell us a little bit about what you do and how some of the challenges that you deal with?
Absolutely. The primary challenges that I tend to see firsthand from some of the soldiers that are either getting ready to leave the military and they happen to be in the unit that I provide support to, which is U.S. Transcom, is they're looking to see about how to reintegrate with their former employer. When you come back from any type of long-term deployment with the military, you are supposed to go back to the position that you were in at the time you left, plus then receive whatever raise in compensation or promotion of position that you would have gotten had you been there for the last year. So if it was customary within your organization that you would move up at least one pay grade or whatever that is, or you were up for shift supervisor or manager or what have you, you were supposed to receive that while you're gone. They can't hold it against you. So that would be the first thing that I tend to see that becomes a problem, and we have to get involved, or I have to send a nasty gram to someone and let them know that, like, hey, you're violating federal law by not acknowledging this. Another thing that I often see with some of the people when they're coming out is if they've gone through any type of family law issues while they've been deployed, and for some reason the court was never received notice that this individual was deployed, and there's been judgments that have been entered against them, or someone has proceeded with a custody dispute and had that decision rendered while they were away, and they were never given the right to have all of that stayed until their return. We have to go back and get that order revoked or rescinded. And usually it's quite easy. You send a letter to the judge, you schedule a hearing or a conference with the judge, and they take care of it. And 90% of judges have no interest in harming a veteran's position. But that is another thing that I see that's pretty common. And then, of course, financially, and this is not something I'm supposed to do, but I do it anyways, is letting them know what to do with some money that they've either, acquired during the course of their deployment because it's untaxed. It usually arrives in a lump sum, especially if they've been given a per diem for a certain period of time in a particular location. A lot of them have no idea what to do. And so they run out and they buy some ridiculous vehicle or a motorcycle or whatever it is. If the smarter ones are looking to see, well, what do I do with this? I've never had it, and trying to give them a little bit of advice, not that I'm a, savant, but give them a little bit of advice and say, if you don't know what to do, just stick it in a savings account until you can figure it out. Don't run out and make those purchases. So just a little life advice.
Sarah, before we go to another panelist, you're a lieutenant colonel. You were deployed to Iraq. There are some things that active duty military people go through from an emotional standpoint of view, separation from the family, separation from their children. On the other hand, and I watched this with my daughter, on the other hand, the spouse that stays home has to take on the job of mother and father. Did you have any experiences like that when you deployed?
Absolutely. I mean, I think any service member when they're deployed, especially if they have smaller children, feels like garbage. What are you doing? Why are you here? And you look around, you're like, how did I end up in this situation? And so there's definitely a horrendous guilt feeling. I found the chaplain to be very useful. We were lucky to have an amazing chaplain. And so if, I were having a crappy day, I would just sit down with him. And sometimes we didn't even talk about what I came in to talk about. But the other thing I would say is just being appreciative of the spouse. And then the time difference was also a big issue. Iraq is 9 hours ahead of Louisiana. I wasn't in Afghanistan, but I imagine that's much worse. And so trying to find the time to connect with your family. Fortunately, we had phones, and I know these gentlemen did not have that benefit. And I could FaceTime my parents or somebody and show them kind of where I was and what I was doing. But getting on the same timetable, feeling like garbage, making sure your spouse feels that their contribution is appreciated and acknowledged. And then, with your kids, they're confused, trying to explain it into a way to them so they're not terrified. So our thing was mommy was on a very long business trip. We were not allowed to use the words war, terrorists. We had a conversation with the school guidance counselor before, making sure that the teachers use the right language, because you don't want to terrify, a 6-year-old kid unnecessarily. So those were some of the issues that primarily we dealt with in our family. But we were very lucky. We have a large extended family, and we're the lucky ones.
Thank you, Sarah. Good information. Let me ask Johnny. Johnny, you served in the enlisted NCO ranks during in your Army time. You were deployed overseas, and when you came back, you went to law school. You're now an attorney. For veterans in the legal profession, how did your service prepare you for what you do today for the practice of law?
Yeah, when I got out of Desert Storm, probably the biggest thing on my mind at that point was just to get into law school, graduate, and go on to work. And one thing I learned from my military service, is most of y'all probably have got the same from your service as well, is the discipline that you get from being in the military, the structure, the regimen, really helped me through law school. It also reminded me when I was in law school, I better do well in law school, or I might be back in the Army. So it really motivated me to get after it. But just having the discipline, having the structure, having people that are going to push you and hold you accountable and be responsible were all really very big, important things that helped me through law school as well as practicing law now.
Thank you, Johnny. And let me ask a question for the audience. Whoever wants to stand up. What was for those veterans out in the audience that are in the legal profession? How did your service prepare you for the practice of law? And do you serve veterans in your law practice? Anybody? That question, I'm throwing that out to anybody that wants to stand up and take that question on. Don't be shy. All right. Yes, sir.
Done, huh? I was saying that the military gave a person the discipline and focus to focus on all of the issues and the intensity of a law school and the career thereafter, and focus on issues at hand before you, problems that needed to be solved of a very serious nature, which I found to be very, very helpful, that most people walking from one campus to the other, undergraduate, have no idea what changes can occur in a human in just a short 3 years.
Somebody else? Somebody else?
Thank you, sir. Very, very good. And appreciate your comments. One of the things that we're very proud of, that I was very proud of, my deputy in the Louisiana Department of Veterans Affairs was a lady by the name of Julie Baxter Payer, who's an attorney. She's still with the Senate right now. Frank, I think you know her really well. But Julie is also a part-time professor at LSU with the law school. And we created, there are some young people who are in law school who come from military families, and they wanted a special law track, legal track that addressed veterans issues and veterans benefits. And so we created one with the support of LSU Law School, and that I'm told that that program is still going on. And there was always 5 or 6 students going through law school who were in that program. And now that's important because now law firms can, they can support veterans with benefits, claims. You don't necessarily have to go through the state anymore. And so veterans have a choice of who they want to be represented by. And a lot of law firms now strictly handle veterans benefits all over the country. So, in keeping with the family issues, I would like to ask Richard to talk to us about programs, Richard, that have been made in the area of veterans benefits and healthcare since the Vietnam War has ended, because there's been tons of things that have gone on.
You can hear me? I just like to share one thing about the lawyers right now. When we were talking, lawyers were sitting out there and holding back a little bit. And everything to do with a veteran, his benefits, the law are under the benefits is in the 3038 code, a CFR. And if a veteran wants to buy a home, you'll find it there. If a veteran needs benefits, you'll find it there. If a veteran needs to know about school, how do I get into school? You'll find it's all law. Everything we deal with on the other side is law. So you guys are extremely important to veterans. One of the biggest questions I find when a guy gets out the military, he doesn't have anyone to give him the directions to what he needs to do. I can say to them, have you seen your service officer yet? Now, most of you veterans that are sitting out there, you know what I'm talking about. But that's the person on the state side. See, there's 2 different veterans administrations. You have the state Veterans Administration that helps the veteran. You have the federal administration that oversees everything. And they're 2 complete different animals altogether. And so you might not realize what an important job you have when a veteran comes to you. You talked about the jobs for veterans, businesses for veterans. I know of 2 men that would have never had a business unless it had been for your bill. Better yet, the Veterans Court for veterans that have had problems when they come out. A lot of guys come out with PTSD. They self-medicate, is what they do. They have survivor's guilt. Their buddy was killed, and they are blaming themselves. And it just goes down a rabbit hole. I know, Joe.
No, I just want to let the audience know that there are 5 veteran courts in the state of Louisiana. There's one in Tangipahoa. There's one in over in Slidell, in the Slidell area, St. Tammany.
Right.
There's one in Livingston. One right here, Judge Johnson in Baton Rouge. I was just there the other day, and then one in Lake Charles. So veterans continue to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just want to let the audience know.
It was 2 years ago that I had a veteran's father call me, and he said my son was considering suicide, and he's strung out on drugs. I just don't know what to do. And he got in trouble with the law. And so I called Joey's office, and I spoke to Billy Robbins at the time. He was over the prison ministry. Billy intervened, and this man changed his life completely. Under the tutorage of a judge, he found discipline. He found a direction. He started his own business. Today, he has a family. He goes to work every day. He thanks God every day for what's happened in his life. So once again, even though we talk about lawyers, I want to tell you thank you. I really do. And I'll go back to my question now if you want, Joe.
Well, we're talking about benefits and healthcare, Richard. Can you go ahead and expound on the community programs and the things that the VA has done for veterans struggling with
Right.
toxic agents, especially burn pits from Iraq and Afghanistan, Agent Orange from Vietnam
Right.
veterans. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, again. I'll just share a story about myself. In 1970, when I came back, I was on a medical discharge. I was wounded. I was mad. The country was mad. Everybody was mad. I had both my eardrums blown out because I got hit with four B-40 rockets. And so when I went down to the VA in New Orleans, I had a 10 o'clock appointment for my hearing. And I sat out in the hall with the rest of the veterans. And at 3 o'clock, a man comes walking along and he's shaking the veterans as he goes down the hall. So when he got to me, I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "It's my job to see who died today." That was health care in 1970 for veterans. That's what it was. I packed myself up. I never went back for 10 years. I was down at the Board of Embarkation, the customs house, and that's where all the inductions are. And I come across some men, and you young people won't probably have never seen this, but they had men with no legs, and they were on little carts, and they had socks on their hands, and they pushed themselves around. This was our careering World War II veterans that had been, I'm going to say, mistreated by their country. That's the way it was. Vietnam veterans didn't take it. Vietnam veterans started standing up and saying, "No, it's not going that way." We got involved. We got involved with the VA. We got involved with the organizations. We understood now we had to have legislation passed, like this gentleman here with Veterans Court. I had the opportunity to be part of the 100% disabled veterans receive free property tax in this state. I'll always be happy for that because that's a gift that keeps on giving. But yet now they've advanced it to the point where if you're 50%, you get a 50% reduction. If you're 70%, you get a 70% reduction. Those things mean something to somebody that is out there working, trying to take care of his family. They're trying to do what they need to do. In the last, I'm going to say the last 8 years, I've had 5 major operations. They all were at the VA. Tulane Medical School has an agreement. All the doctors that come to the VA now are out of Tulane Medical School, and there's some other. I think I saw one LSU guy pop up one time and we gave him some trouble. But anyway, the difference in what takes place at the VA today and what it was in 1970 is light years. We have robotic surgery. They have therapy. They have basketball games for guys. It's just gone, but we have to keep fighting. We can't back off, because if you back off, somebody's going to say, well, you know, I know you got that problem, but, you know, we don't have money for that. The House Ways and Means Committee is not my friend. I've heard them make all excuses why they couldn't do something for veterans, when the truth of the matter is they should be saying, how can we do something for veterans? Without your veteran, without those young children over there involved in programs, learning patriotism, that received the awards tonight, that's our future. That's the patriots that are coming up, and I'm proud of them. November 11th is Veterans Day. Groups like mine, Military Order of Purple Heart, VFW, American Legion, all the different groups will be in schools and we'll be teaching children about patriotism. We'll teach them to honor their mother and their father. We'll teach them about integrity, honesty, the things that we need in this country. That's necessary. We need it. Honor. They don't understand honor. So I'm going to get off my pulpit now. And if you have anything else, Joey.
No, I think you're doing great. There's one other thing that I want you to expound on, because Richard has, he's been involved with me in Veterans Affairs for years. That's why I'm relying on him a little bit. One of the questions and concerns that I get, even today, when I'm retired, everybody knows my phone number because I was too liberal in giving it out, which I regret sometimes. But I get calls from widows saying, Colonel Strickland, I just lost my husband. I think he was 100%, he was 50%, whatever disability. Am I eligible for widows indemnity compensation? Talk a little bit about widows indemnity compensation, because one of the concerns that I have is that when the coroner fills out the death certificate, they don't always put that the veteran died from a service-connected issue.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
And that's what some of you attorneys could possibly fix. We got to bring that up, Senator, in the legislature. Talk about it a little bit.
Oh, okay. The thing with survivors benefits or DIC, death indemnity compensation, veterans can lie. And what I mean by that is they tell their wife, don't worry, when I die, you're going to be taken care of. And they haven't prepared a damn thing for them. And so when the man dies, the wife is sitting there and she doesn't know what to do. So if they're part of an organization, maybe the VFW or DAV or whatever one, they'll call and ask them to help. So now you have a widow sitting there and they're overwhelmed, they're crying, they don't know what to do. My husband told me that I'd be taken care of. Well, that's not how it works at all. So you have to sit down and you have to start going through deals, taking questions. You have a DD 214, is discharge papers. Do you have a death certificate yet? And like Joey's saying, the thing that we're working on it right now is that if you have a coroner, for instance, there's one over in Covington that is kind of headstrong. And what he'll do is whatever he sees, that's what he puts down. He doesn't take input. We just had a gentleman that died over there, and he's been in a wheelchair. He had a stroke. He had multiple different issues. And he puts down there something like heart attack. Well, that wasn't one of his conditions on his disabilities. So the VA turns around and now denies death indemnity compensation to his widow. I promise you his diabetes contributed to his heart trouble. I promise you that his other illnesses contributed to his heart problems. That's just the way it is. And so many times my job when somebody dies is go see the coroner and talk with them for my veteran buddy so that we can make sure that the paperwork is appropriate when we send it off to the VA. The VA is going to follow the law. And I respect that. We want laws. We want direction. We want, put us on a fair playing ground. That's all I'm asking. But sometimes we have to overcome these situations. And believe me, you do not want to sit with a widow that has just lost her husband of 40 or 50 years and tell her, I'm sorry, you get nothing. You get nothing. So that's what I see.
Thank you. Those are tough questions that we deal with on a continuous basis. This question, I guess, is for Senator Foyle and also John Joubert. How can, in your experience, local organizations like the Bar Association better support veterans? Any ideas?
Well, there's a couple of things I want to add to answer that question, also to talk about what Richard just said. Number one is, if you're a veteran, go out and apply for benefits. So you're not sitting there with your spouse when you're gone and they have nowhere to even know what to do, where to start, where to go. So go to va.gov and file your disability claim. And you don't have to file your disability claim right off the bat. You just file your notice of intent. That gives you a year to start that process. And that will get a lot of answers for you and some guidance. So everything is taken care of when you do pass along. Here recently, I was meeting with a few generals and colonels, and we were talking about my own disability. I've never filed it. I've always pushed it off, and I pushed it off, and I pushed it off. And what they said to me the other day, which really made a lot of sense to me finally, was, number one, when you're in the military, your body is going to pay a pretty big price. And if you're 50 years old, you want to have a 50-year-old spine, but that military spine is now a 60-year-old spine. And so maybe you can't link every single thing that's going on in your life to your military service, but you can get some contributions and get the military, get the VA to start paying some benefits. So as lawyers out there, I encourage you to help veterans, get them to file that notice of intent. There are all types of services out there that will help you file your claim. And if you're a veteran yourself, you've been in the military, if there's any connexus of any of your disabilities, go file that claim, because the government is willing to pay for the service-connected disabilities you have. There's a lot of benefits that are tied to your disability, so go out there and get it. And once you get a little bit of disability, it will take you a while to get all the way up to 100% if you can get it, but every percentage of disability you get, then there opens up another door for other benefits. So I would encourage you to go out there and file for those benefits, ask lawyers to help you get those benefits, because they're available for you for sure.
Thank you, John.
And I would add, many bar associations, including the Baton Rouge Bar Association, has a lawyer referral program. And if they're not already doing it, I would help, to get a list of people with military or expertise in VA work and so forth. So you can call the Bar Association and get a name. Also, if someone has a military ID as a dependent because your spouse died or because you're retired, there are also legal service offices at many of the bases. That's what I did as a reservist down in Belle Chase. There's a Navy office. And so I would encourage people, if you do have the ID, seek out the JAG officer. You may see Sarah. You would have seen me at one time. for help. And then one last thing, this is not exactly on topic, but I think it's important for you to know because this has been really topical in the legislature. Two issues that we've been addressing that we've seen are issues. When active duty people move to the state, the spouse many times had a license in another state to do something, and that's a big barrier. And so we've passed legislation to try to make it easier to have reciprocity. So when the spouse comes with the military member, in many ways, it's much harder on the spouse than it is on the member to allow them to do work in the state. And then another issue, I just passed a bill, I think it was last year, to make it harder for people to discriminate against military members who want to rent property, because federal law does protect you. If you get orders to go, you can't get out of your lease, and some people discriminate. So, once again, please encourage people to try to work with military people, on their leases and things like that.
Thank you, Senator. Great feedback. I think we have a question from the audience, sir. Lisa, could you take the mic? Johnny, get.
My name is Gerard Ruth. I'm most probably the lowest ranked serviceman in here. I was Seaman First Class on deck. I served 3 years during the Korean War, but I never was in combat, and I don't have any fruit salad like all these gentlemen have. But I was an air sea rescue and picked up pilots. And I was recommended to use your law firm, and contacted one of your partners in your firm. And other than starting 4 civic organizations in Baton Rouge, the 5th one is the Lone Sailor Statue. And I'm senior commander of the Navy Club at Baton Rouge, served 5 years as commander, 3 years with the American Legion, 74 years as a member of the American Legion, and helped with the building that's on the road now. And also the Navy League, commanding life member. And I was appointed to be chairman of the Lone Sailor Statue. And that's our next project. My 2 members passed away. There's 3 of us. My 2 members passed away, and I have a former Navy pilot here with me that's a member of the Navy Club, Will Rieger, and my daughter that came in from Pennsylvania and to see me. And we said it was the best time to see your law partner, but I'd like to see you with the law partner now. And they said the best time for us to get with the mayor, the statue is now in the museum. And when the city council gave us the $150,000 to get the statue, it was the last one. And we got it to Baton Rouge, and we were gonna put it in my warehouse and then put it on the river. We discussed it with everybody, the council and all the people. The statue is for these people here to see without paying. And it was supposed to be put on the river, and they named the little place on the river the Girard Plaza, because I've been arguing about it for 20 years. But when the statue came in, they met with us and told us, said, no, Girard, you don't need to handle the statue. We gonna take it. And the man that was running the kid at that time was a friend of somebody on the council. And we had another meeting with them, and they talked to Navy Club out of us not handling the statue for them to handle it. And so I said, well, we're supposed to put it on the levee, and we're supposed to see where the sailors on the water. All the others around the country are facing the water, and nobody has to pay to see them, except the one in Baton Rouge. And so I got an architect that doesn't charge us. We have all the plans, the lights and everything. And they said, no, Gerard, wait until after the 3 people get hired at LSU and wait until after the local election. And then we come see you and I have the architect, Will Rieger, former lieutenant pilot in the Navy. And I have a Navy,
Could we, sir?
a Navy medic, and
Johnny,
he's gonna be with us.
Could we-
and one of our past commanders here, and I just wanna let you know,
could we meet?
we appreciate all the things that these people have done and all these servicemen that have really done a great job. My grandfather was in World War I, my daddy in World War II, and I respect all of them.
Could we visit with him after the meeting? Because interesting story. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. Okay. Thank you. Okay, this brings us to the end of our hour. There was some good discussion generated. Let me ask you, you folks this. This is for my own education too. This is kind of like a veterans town hall meeting, and I think this is a good thing. But what do you think? Anybody, stand up. Think we should continue doing this? I hear absolutely. Scott, what do you think? You're a Marine. Marines always have answers. I'm just picking at you, Scott. Yes, sir. Oh, another Marine?
This is we told your back to take care of my own, that it's separate or on the precipice of separate. So his education and that now trying to keep them. So I can say it's very true.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you said that. I was an infantry army guy. Hoorah. Hoorah. Okay, is there someone else? Sergeant, you want to say something? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, Richard, go ahead.
I'm going to share a phone number to you. And this is the National VA office. They will help you with anything you need. If you're a widow and you need to find out about your husband's benefits, you call this one number. They'll help you with your school benefits if you're trying to get your school. It's a national number, and the number is 1-800-698-2411. And you will speak to a person, not a machine. And if that doesn't get you through, you can call 1-800-827-1000. We use these numbers. I'll tell just real quickly, Joe. I had a widow that called and she reported my husband's been 100% disabled for 20 years. He passed away, and she gave the person his social security number and his VA number. They looked it up. They processed the claim within 5 minutes, and she received her DIC, her death indemnity compensation, the next month. That's important. And that number will get you through to people that will take care of those problems.
Thank you, Richard. You know, I was talking with Elena earlier about veterans affairs and issues in our state, and she was telling me that a report came out ranking us like 38th in the nation. And that really, not at her, but it really pissed me off, because Louisiana is a great veteran state. We have 280,000 veterans in the state of Louisiana. We're the only small state that has 3 VA medical centers in the state. I was the Secretary of Veterans Affairs for Janet Napolitano out in Arizona. Would you believe they only had 2 VA medical centers for 700,000 veterans? They had no state veteran cemeteries. I built 2 of them out there. They had no tribal cemeteries for the tribes. I built 1 at San Carlos Apache. But in our state, we have 5 state veteran cemeteries. They're beautiful, state of the art. Anyone is authorized to be buried there if they served honorably. Their spouses can be buried with their loved one. And that doesn't include the national cemeteries. We have 5 state-of-the-art veteran homes that really take good care of our veterans. We have 32 student veteran centers on every college and university campus where veterans can get together and share common experiences. And we have 70 claims officers in the LDVA that can file claims for veterans. And speaking of claims, if a veteran gets turned down, and I tell especially the young veterans, if a veteran gets turned down the first time and he doesn't get what he or she thinks that they should have gotten, they tend to give up. They get angry. I tell them that's the worst thing you can do. I'm 100% service connected from combat duty. It took me, and I was a secretary, it took me 6 tries. I had to reopen my claim 6 different times before I was awarded 100%. So you can't just give up. You can't get angry and walk away. You got to keep trying. And that would be my advice. This has been a wonderful opportunity to have a discussion with our community, with our attorneys, with our legal profession. I want to thank my panel experts, Sarah, Richard, Johnny, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your service and for what you've done and continue to do for our country.
And thank you for moderating. No, we're so happy to have you here. Just a few quick things and you can head out for the brief reception. We do have evaluations on the seats as well as on the table with some pencils back there if you need. Please let us know how you did. I would appreciate the verbal response, but please let us know how we did in writing. And of course, tonight we are doing this program in conjunction with the exhibition we have right now on the 2nd floor. So when you get something to eat, when you grab a drink, finish that up, set it to the side and go see that. We have over 20 artworks from Navy combat artists from the Vietnam War, watercolors, paintings, drawings from active duty artists who recorded what they saw on behalf of the Navy. And so it's beautiful art, and it's from the perspective of the men who fought in the war. So please take some time to see that, and thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much.
I've had a long experience with the old state capitol. I've stood behind this podium many times. The folks that take care of the old state capitol, they are great state employees. Thank you.